Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. The Pharmacy Leaders Podcast is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, with interviews and advice on building your professional network, brand, and a purposeful second income from students, residents, and innovative professionals.
Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast, and welcome to Pharmacy News Sunday. So all that happened last week and all that's going to happen next week. So let's start off with the travel stipends. We've gotten the contest off to a great start, and I wanted to highlight two students who are really crushing it early in the competition. Carleigh Roberts is a P2 student at the University of Louisiana, Monroe. She's attending the annual meeting and hoping to network and learn from others and do more with her position with APhA. And she is the Generation RX co-chair, and she's talked to more than 1,000 students about the danger of prescription and non-prescription drug misuse and helping combat the opioid epidemic. She lost a dear friend to addiction to Adderall last year. So really, she's crushing it. She's in the lead right now, and really just I'm just so proud of her and the way that she's gotten her tribe together. It's going to be so important that we can let others know that we're doing something and that we need their support and that we can get it from them. And I know it's all of Facebook likes, but really when you think about it, if you go out and ask your friends, if you need help with something, and we're going to be talking about things more than Facebook likes, especially if provider status goes through. So congratulations to Carleigh for that early lead. And then the other student is Bailey Rucker. She says, "Hey y'all," and she is currently a P3 at South University School of Pharmacy, Savannah campus. So she was a little bit nervous about moving away from home and starting that new chapter in her life, but this 3-year accelerated program that uses the quarter system is obviously challenging, but I've heard over and over again that leadership opportunities don't evade those who are doing their pharmacy training a little bit faster. She's happy about being part of a Pharmaly, and she's Phi Lambda Sigma Secretary, class president for the graduating class of 2019, and Pharmacy Student Leadership Council president. So clearly qualified as well. So I do hope that you take the time to look at the people that are going out there and putting themselves on the line out there in public. It's so important that we have these representatives that have social connections, because when we're asking for things like provider status again, we're going to need to lean into these kinds of people that know how to get other people to move. Okay, so again, I hope that you guys do enter. This is just 1/3 of it. There's also the iTunes and the Audible ways to win. I'd check out the last episode with Brandon Dyson, TLDR, and get more details on that. All right, so I haven't given an interview in a long time, and I've certainly never done one this as long as I did with Kevin Yee, but Kevin Yee has been on YouTube for quite a long time. He's phenomenal in just calling it like it is, and this is what's going on with pharmacy, and this is what we can do about it. And his group and his followers are amazingly engaged with his Kevin Yee Pharmacist channel on YouTube. So I encourage you to check out that video. I'll certainly put the link in the show notes. And if you are, reticent about listening to an hour-long interview, I understand. He really did a really great job with the timestamps, talking about the different places you end up in pharmacy. So whether you're working for someone else, working as someone who leads other people in the pharmacy, working for yourself, or you're the person that leads other people working for themselves. Then what it is to come into community pharmacy and maybe find out that in the beginning, this was what was for you, but that maybe it doesn't end up being a lifelong career for you, and that you want to move out, and what are you going to do there? I struggled in the classroom, and I talk about that as well, why I went into pharmacy, and then I talk about some other side businesses that have very little to do with being in a pharmacy, but using the skills that you need as a PharmD. And so I want to make sure that I'm clear when I say that my career has gone back and forth between being in a pharmacy and being out of a pharmacy, but at all times I needed that training that I got as a pharmacist. But I did have a very successful real estate practice. I was able to work my way up through the teaching ladder, eventually getting a position at a college, and then give you some advice for the new grads, certainly I don't know if you want to take my advice on dealing with debt, but it's definitely non-traditional. I'll let you listen to it. It's at the 35-minute mark. And then kind of talking about investing and the way that I look at it. But again, my life is so fortunate in that when my daughter says, I really want you to come for the first time I'm going to hot lunch, I can go do that. This morning, my daughter was sick, and I came by. My wife was able to go work out. She took care of the other two, and then we kind of switched off. And then she went to go take them to get their ears pierced, and then now I've got a couple hours to work, and then I'll go back and take care of the sick little one. And if I was working today, it would just be a tremendous burden on her. And whether you're, whichever spouse you are, but having that autonomy is really what I think is kind of magical about the entrepreneurial process. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that quite a bit this week in our episodes. But first of all, on Monday, there was so much success with the TLDR interview format where I went back and forth with Brandon Dyson on interview questions that I said, okay, well, let's see if I can find someone else as well that can talk to it a little bit. And Sean P. Kane from Rosalind Franklin University up in Chicago was nice enough to talk with me for a little bit about what it is to do PGY1, but then articulate PGY2 as someone who's done a critical care PGY2. And then he does a really great job of answering a critical care question, both if you've had the critical care APPE and then if you haven't had it. So what's a reasonable answer? What shows your skill in either scenario? Because I know many of you have the lottery and you didn't get to do your most advanced APPEs clinically, and you have to go to those residency interviews. Then another thing that I hear often is I really want a home-based business that I can do in addition to pharmacy. And I brought in my friend Janine Kelbach of the Healthcare Marketing Network. She's got 5-figure side salary from some gigs that she had, and I'll let you listen to that on Wednesday. And I've been getting some really troubling I want to say emails or notes and on social media that some people are really struggling out there with losing their positions in certain areas. Maybe it's no longer a fit, and the pharmacy profession that they started with is so different now. And going back for residency is really not an option. So what I did was I went out and brought in entrepreneur Don Hutchison, who really has been an entrepreneur all of his life. He was in service to our country in the military, and then went into a number of businesses. And I talked to him about what it is to make your own job and career, because I think that, as someone who's 45, if I didn't have a position, if I was working in pharmacy, I don't need a pharmacy license to do what I do. I teach chemistry and pharmacology at a community college. But if I did and was working in a pharmacy, I would definitely feel like, after X number of years of working, it would be really tough for me to go into a position that I wasn't maybe the manager or some kind of leader, and I would want to make my own road, as it were. Okay, so those are going to be the 3 episodes for next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's the format that we're probably going to be keeping here. Let's talk about some of the other podcast episodes. So on the Pharmacy Podcast Network, what's important to know about buying and selling a pharmacy. So if after graduation your dream is to own a pharmacy, we hear from Christian Harrington, Corporate Vice President of Pharmacy Strategies with H.D. Smith, who gives some advice there. The next episode, 543, with Java, although it's spelled like Java, like coffee, Coleman on the Pharmacy Inspection podcast. I really loved this episode because it was about processes and how if you get the process right, you can do amazing things. And they talk about in compounding pharmacy how they kind of made these, I want to say it was peanut butter sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they improved the process and got the idea across that, wow, there's a lot of wasted time in some of the things that we do. And that if we can improve those processes, we can be in really good shape. So I definitely recommend that you check that out. Dr. Leslie Mendoza Temple, the medical podcast. So again, marijuana is a huge, huge topic across the country. And if that's something that you're interested in, that's episode 544. Something that was really interesting to me, and I totally would have taken advantage of this if this was something that I would have done when I graduated. But there is a Spanish immersion internship with CVS, and yo hablo español, but yo hablo español americano, so my Spanish is not that good. But there are, I think, 50 cities or more that you can be in this Spanish immersion internship, and you don't have to have Spanish as your primary language. You can have some kind of Spanish background, Spanish training. I feel like it's just really the desire to learn these things. So our guest, Michelle Magus, if that was something that she'd wanted to do, this would have been really kind of cool to be able to do it in the States. But you can see in the show notes there where those are and talk to the recruiting strategist as well about that. And then the last thing, pharmacy transition services. If you know an owner of a pharmacy, Todd talks with Chad Sanders of Cardinal Pharmacy Transition Services and talks about how important it is to be prepared for pharmacy business purchase, sale, or transfer. And what we're hearing over and over again is that we want to preserve the independence, but to do that, we need to find people that are going to buy the independence, want to take on that leadership role, want that entrepreneurial opportunity. And this is something that's really been coming down the line. TLDR Pharmacy, so going from the audio blog to the written blog. Again, this is TLDR Pharmacy, so Brandon Dyson. January 17th was a mock residency interview to help you prepare. Then how to ace your residency interviews. He's got a great blog post on that. And then another one on winning the free registration stipends for APhA 2018. Jackie Boyle at thepharmacygirl.com. She had a really great blog post January 29th about professional goals, finding mentors, fostering passion, giving, building network, and building confidence. I really, really got a lot from it. And most of her blog posts are very accessible, quick to read, so I really love checking them out. And then she has a more recent one where she has a guest blogger, and he's not coming. There it is. On February 3rd, where do you see yourself 10 years? And that's a really tough question when we have no idea what's going to go on this next year. But I think it was a phenomenal blog post and definitely something that you should check out as well. Okay. Helix Talk did drop a new episode. They do this every 3 weeks. Helix Talk and Joe Munch over Pharmacy Joe are both usually in the top 200 of science and medicine as far as the Apple podcasts go. So really we're seeing that a couple of pharmacists are leading the way there in terms of clinical expertise, and a lot of people are downloading those episodes just to say, okay, well, I want to hear from a pharmacist what it is that I need to do about X. And they talk about, their titles are always awesome. This one's Don't Go With the Flow, How Antibiotics Cause Diarrhea and What You Can Do About It. And I still have to listen to the episode, but I can tell you already, as soon as I go in and I hear the word augmentin, immediately I'm like, yeah, let's go with the doxycycline. I think that would be a better choice. So anyway, I just recommend Helix Talk. They tend to have some great stuff as well. So again, I hope that you do enter the contest. I put the money up because I do believe that networking is going to be the most important skill that you can have going into this spring, and doing it at the national level is critical. So have a great weekend, and please do feel free to get in touch with me by Facebook Messenger at TonyPharmD1, or you can always find me on Twitter at Tony_PharmD.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. Be sure to share the show with the hashtag #PharmacyLeaders.